Imagine waking up one day, checking your bank account, and realizing that no matter how hard you work, the number never seems to grow. You earn money, you spend money, and somehow you're right back where you started. It feels like life is stuck on repeat. Here's the surprising part: for most people, the biggest problem isn't how much they earn. It's what they repeatedly do with the money they already have. Money habits are powerful because they happen almost automatically. You don't wake up and decide to stay broke forever. Instead, you make dozens of tiny financial decisions every single day, and over months or years, those small decisions become your financial future. Today, Bob is exposing 10 money habits that keep people broke, and if you recognize even a few of these in your own life, changing them could completely transform your future. The first habit is spending first and saving whatever is left. This sounds normal because it's exactly how most people manage money. Payday arrives, and suddenly it's time to celebrate. Bills get paid, food gets ordered, new clothes seem necessary, subscriptions continue renewing, and random online purchases somehow find their way into the shopping cart. By the end of the month, there's almost nothing left to save. The problem isn't that saving is impossible. The problem is that saving has become the lowest priority. Think about it this way. Imagine you're filling 10 buckets with water. If you pour water into every bucket except one, hoping there will still be enough left for the last bucket, chances are the final bucket stays empty. Saving works exactly the same way. Wealthy people flip the process around. They save first and spend what's left. The moment money enters their account, a portion immediately moves into savings or investments before they even have the chance to spend it. Bob likes to call this paying your future self first. Even if it's only 5 or 10% of your income, consistency matters more than the amount. Small deposits made every month eventually become thousands. Large deposits made once and forgotten rarely change anything. Most people think they'll start saving after they earn more money. But earning more usually leads to spending more. If you can't save $10 from 100, you'll probably struggle to save 100 from 1,000. The habit has to come before the income. The second habit is trying to look rich instead of becoming rich. This one is everywhere. People finance expensive phones they can't afford, buy designer clothes to impress strangers, rent luxury apartments that stretch their paycheck, and drive cars that consume half their monthly income. From the outside, everything looks successful. Behind the scenes, the credit cards are maxed out, the loans are growing, and financial stress never disappears. Bob finds this fascinating because real wealth is often invisible. The millionaire next door may drive an ordinary car, wear simple clothes, and avoid flashy purchases. Meanwhile, someone earning far less could appear incredibly wealthy simply because everything they own is financed by debt. Social media makes this even worse. Every day you're surrounded by vacations, luxury watches, expensive restaurants, and perfect lifestyles. What you don't see are the loans, sponsorships, borrowed items, or years of financial mistakes hiding behind the photos. Comparing yourself to people online is like comparing your everyday life to someone else's movie trailer. Habit number 3 is relying on debt for everyday living. Debt isn't always bad. Borrowing money to build a business, buy an appreciating asset, or invest in education can sometimes create more value than it costs. But using debt to survive month after month is a dangerous cycle. Imagine digging a hole every day and hoping tomorrow you'll magically have enough energy to climb out. Eventually the hole becomes too deep. Many people swipe a credit card because they don't want to wait until next payday. Others take quick loans for shopping, entertainment, or things they simply couldn't afford. The problem is that future income becomes trapped paying for yesterday's lifestyle. Instead of next month's salary helping you move forward, it's already committed to old purchases. Interest quietly makes everything worse. You don't just pay for the product. You pay for the privilege of buying it early. And if payments are delayed, the cost keeps growing while the value of what you bought usually keeps shrinking. The fourth habit is ignoring where your money actually goes. Ask someone how much they earn and they'll usually know. Ask them how much they spent on snacks, food delivery, subscriptions, transportation, impulse shopping, and entertainment last month, and most have absolutely no idea. Money disappears quietly. IT's rarely one huge purchase. IT's dozens of small ones. A coffee here. An online subscription there. A ride you didn't really need. A meal because cooking felt like too much work. None of these seem expensive on their own. Together they quietly consume hundreds or even thousands every year. Bob likes to imagine money as water flowing through a bucket. If the bucket has tiny holes everywhere, eventually all the water leaks out. You don't fix the problem by pouring in more water. You fix the holes. Tracking your spending isn't about becoming obsessed with every penny. IT's about becoming aware. Because you cannot improve what you never measure. Many people discover they're spending far more on convenience than they ever realized. Others discover subscriptions they've forgotten about completely. Some realize impulse purchases happen most often when they're bored, stressed, or emotional. Awareness creates control. Control creates better decisions. And better decisions repeated over time create wealth. The interesting part is that none of these first 4 habits guarantee someone stays broke forever. But together, they quietly build a financial prison that becomes harder to escape every year. The 5th habit is waiting for the perfect time to start investing. This is one of the most expensive financial mistakes people make, because every year they wait is a year they can never get back. Bob has heard every excuse imaginable. I'll start when I get a better job. I'll invest after I get promoted. I need to earn 6 figures first. I'll begin next year. The problem is that next year has a funny way of turning into 5 years, then 10 years, and before you know it, decades have passed. People often think investing is only for the wealthy, but that's backwards. Investing is one of the reasons many people become wealthy in the first place. Money sitting in a regular account loses purchasing power over time because of inflation. Prices continue rising while cash often stays the same. That means every year your money quietly buys a little less than it used to. Imagine placing an ice cube on a table. You don't notice it melting every second, but leave it there long enough and eventually it's gone. Inflation works much the same way. It's slow, almost invisible, but incredibly powerful. Investing allows your money to begin working instead of waiting. The greatest advantage isn't earning huge returns overnight. It's giving compound growth enough time to do its job. The 6th habit is increasing your lifestyle every time your income increases. Most people dream about getting a raise. They imagine life finally becoming easier. Then the raise arrives. A bigger apartment suddenly feels reasonable. A newer phone seems justified. The car gets upgraded. More expensive restaurants become normal. Weekend shopping becomes a reward. Within a few months, their expenses have quietly climbed until they match their new income. They're earning more than ever, yet somehow saving exactly the same amount, or even less. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the biggest reasons high-income earners can still struggle financially. Bob likes to compare it to running on a treadmill. You move faster. You work harder. You sweat more. But you're still standing in the exact same place. There's nothing wrong with enjoying your success. The mistake is upgrading every part of your life the moment your paycheck grows. Instead, imagine splitting every raise into 2 pieces. One part improves your life. The other improves your future. The 7th habit is believing that one source of income is enough forever. For generations, people were taught to study hard, get a good job, work for decades, and retire comfortably. While having a stable job is valuable, depending on only one paycheck can be risky. Imagine sitting on a chair with only one leg. As long as nothing goes wrong, you're fine. But the moment that single support disappears, everything collapses. Bob isn't saying everyone needs 5 businesses or 10 investment properties. He's saying it's wise to begin building additional streams of income over time. The 8th habit is refusing to learn about money. Think about how much time people spend learning subjects they'll never use again after school. Years are spent studying history, science, geography, and mathematics. Yet one of the most important life skills, managing money, is something many people never intentionally learn. Then they wonder why finances always feel confusing. Bob finds this interesting because money follows rules whether you understand them or not. Interest doesn't care if you know how it works. Inflation doesn't pause because nobody explained it. Taxes don't become simpler because someone ignored them. The people who understand these rules usually make better financial decisions. The people who don't often repeat the same expensive mistakes for years. The good news is that learning about money has never been easier. Imagine two friends who both earn exactly the same salary. One spends every evening scrolling through endless entertainment. The other spends just a small amount of time each day learning financial skills. 5 years later, they may earn similar incomes, but their financial lives could look completely different. Knowledge compounds just like money. Every lesson builds on the one before it. Eventually, small improvements in knowledge begin producing larger improvements in financial decisions. Bob isn't saying you need a finance degree. You simply need to stay curious. Because every financial mistake you avoid is money you get to keep. The 9th habit is letting emotions control spending. Have you ever noticed how people often shop when they're stressed? Or buy expensive things after having a bad day? Or reward themselves after accomplishing something? Money and emotions are connected far more than most people realize. Sometimes people don't buy things because they need them. They buy things because they want to feel different. A stressful week becomes an excuse for shopping. Boredom leads to online browsing. Loneliness turns into expensive food deliveries. Excitement becomes impulse purchases. Fear causes panic selling investments. Greed causes people to chase risky opportunities. The emotional decision feels good for a few minutes. The financial consequences often last much longer. Bob likes to compare emotional spending to eating junk food every time you're sad. It solves the feeling temporarily but usually creates another problem later. One of the easiest ways to fight emotional spending is creating a pause. Instead of buying immediately, wait 24 hours. If it's a large purchase, wait a week. Most impulse purchases lose their excitement once emotions settle down. You'll often realize you never really wanted the item. The 10th and final habit is believing wealth is only for other people. This habit is the most dangerous because it begins in the mind long before it appears in your bank account. Some people grow up believing that rich people are simply lucky. Others believe wealth is reserved for people born into the right families. Some convince themselves they'll always struggle because that's all they've ever seen. When someone truly believes becoming financially secure is impossible, they stop trying. They don't save because they think it won't matter. They don't invest because they assume they'll fail. They don't learn because they believe knowledge won't change anything. Their beliefs quietly shape every financial decision they make. Bob isn't saying everyone will become a billionaire. That's unrealistic. But becoming financially healthier is possible for far more people than they realize. Every wealthy person started somewhere. Many began with very little. The difference wasn't a magical opportunity appearing overnight. It was thousands of ordinary decisions repeated consistently over many years. Saving instead of spending. Investing instead of waiting. Learning instead of guessing. Building instead of complaining. Those choices don't look dramatic on a single day. But over decades, they completely change someone's life. Imagine standing at the edge of two different roads. One road represents your current habits. The other represents slightly better habits. Today, they look almost identical. Walk those roads for 10 or 20 years, and they lead to completely different destinations. That's how money works. Small habits become big results. Not overnight. Not in a month. But with enough consistency, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. If you've recognized yourself in some of these habits, don't be discouraged. Everyone has made financial mistakes. Everyone has wasted money. Everyone has bought something they regretted. What matters isn't where you've been. What matters is what you decide to do next. The good news is that habits can be changed. A person who always spent first can begin saving first. Someone trapped by debt can slowly pay it down. Someone who never invested can start today. Someone who knew nothing about money can begin learning one lesson at a time. Financial success isn't usually built by one giant decision. It is built by thousands of small, ordinary choices that most people never notice. And that's exactly why so many people underestimate the power of good money habits. If you found yourself nodding along during this video, chances are you're already thinking differently about money. And sometimes, thinking differently is the very first step toward living differently.